Why the darkest women are the most desirable, Carl Jung and the shadow feminine. Have you ever wondered why some women leave men breathless, not for their beauty, but for the unnameable force they carry? She walks into a room, and nothing feels safe anymore. Not because she causes danger, but because she isn't afraid of it. Men can sense it, even if they can't name it. She carries something ancient, a presence too still to be ignored, too honest to be tamed. And beneath the surface, a silence that feels like standing at the edge of a forest you're not ready to enter. This is the shadow feminine. Not the polished version, not the light, the nurturer, the gentle smile they've been taught to adore. But the part men feel before they understand, and often run from after. Carl Jung said the shadow is the part of the psyche that is repressed, unseen, disowned. And in women, it's not just rage or sexuality or sadness. It's power, a kind of knowing that's been buried for generations. And when it surfaces in one woman, fully, fearlessly, the world around her must reorganize. She doesn't ask to be liked. She doesn't smile to make others comfortable. She holds her ground even when the earth beneath her trembles. And men, especially men who've built their worth on control, find themselves undone in her presence. Because she doesn't need them. She sees them, not the mask, not the muscles, not the career or confidence. She sees what's behind it. The boy who was ignored. The man who compensates. The ego trembling beneath the armor. And still, she does not coddle. She does not shrink herself to soothe him. You've met her, haven't you? Maybe you were her. Maybe you tried not to be. Maybe your whole life, you were told to soften, to sweeten, to hide your storms behind pretty smiles. Maybe you broke your own voice to make others more comfortable. But then, something cracked. Maybe it was heartbreak. Maybe it was betrayal. Maybe it was the slow death of playing small. And from the rubble, she rose. Not the girl, not the good woman, but the one who watched it all burn and stood anyway. The shadow feminine doesn't chase love. She reveals truth. And the truth is, most people don't want intimacy. They want relief. And she refuses to offer that. Because she doesn't belong to their comfort. She belongs to the fire. The rebirth. The storm. Men who are drawn to her aren't looking for ease. They're drawn to the depth they've spent a lifetime avoiding. But when they touch it, even just once, they are marked. Not by ownership, but by awakening. Because she doesn't feed the ego. She starves it. And in doing so, makes space for the soul. That's what makes her desirable, not to the many, but to the few. The ones brave enough to want truth more than control. The ones hungry for something real, even if it terrifies them. She doesn't seduce. She reminds of every woman a man has tried to forget. Every feeling he pushed down. Every time he was told not to cry, not to feel, not to want more than the script. She looks him in the eye and says nothing, but her silence speaks. I see the man you're afraid to be. And I will not lie to protect him. Most men leave. And that's okay. She doesn't close the door. She just doesn't hold it open anymore. Because she knows, the man who is ready will not ask her to dim. He will not fear the fire. He will enter it, barefoot, shaking, and grateful. He won't arrive with certainty. He'll arrive with reverence, not because he understands her, but because he doesn't. Because he's no longer searching for something he can master, he's searching for something that can transform him. That is the sacred wound she opens. The shadow feminine is not chaos for the sake of destruction. She is order born from disillusionment. When she speaks, it is not to be heard, it is to reveal. When she touches, it's not to comfort, it's to awaken. She will kiss you and vanish. Not because she's cruel, but because she never came to stay. She came to disrupt. And you, yes, you, if you've ever felt like you were too much, too intense, too heavy for the world, it's because you were never meant to walk lightly. You were meant to walk truthfully. And truth, in a world addicted to illusion, always feels like violence. The dark woman is not dark because she is wounded. She is dark because she no longer hides her wounds behind makeup and modesty. She wears them on her skin like holy war paint, a reminder that what tried to break her only carved deeper paths for power to pour through. She is the embodiment of shadow work. And her desire is not in how she looks, but in what she forces others to confront in themselves. She is the medicine they didn't know they needed. The kind that doesn't taste sweet, the kind that burns. She doesn't flirt. She stares. She doesn't giggle. She waits. And when you speak, she listens not just to your words, but to your fault lines. She listens for the lie beneath the compliment, the fear behind the bravado, the ache in your casual indifference. And once she sees it, she never unsees it. There is no small talk with her. She exists in subtext. She is subtext. To love a dark woman is to die to yourself. The self that performs, the self that people pleases, the self that pretends. She doesn't want your best. She wants your real, and she will not beg for it. This is what makes her magnetic. What makes her mythic, not just to men, but to other women who have not yet met their own darkness. Women who envy her while fearing her. who long to walk with the same fire but are still shackled to the need for approval. She threatens every system that profits off insecurity. She cannot be marketed, cannot be mimicked, because what she is cannot be bought. It must be earned, in silence, in solitude, in soul-level surrender. She is not just confident. She is sovereign. She is not just intimidating. She is unapologetically whole. And men, they feel it before they know it. Their chest tightens, their breath slows, their thoughts stammer. Because in her presence, they remember every feminine figure they've suppressed, the mother who didn't speak, the lover who left, the stranger who stared too deeply. She brings them back to the threshold, to the mirror, to the truth they never finished facing. And she does this not with cruelty, but with clarity. She is the flame, they are the moth, and most are not ready to burn. But the few who are, the very few, they rise. Not for her, through her, they rise into men who no longer seek to conquer, but to witness. To feel, to serve something greater than their own reflection. She doesn't destroy men, she destroys illusions, and what survives, is him. She is not the end of a man, she is the beginning of his truth. The line where ego dissolves and soul begins. The place where all that is performative turns to ash, and all that is buried fights to be reborn. To be with her is to meet the wild feminine, the archetype no fairy tale dares name. She is not the princess, not the maiden, she is the witch, the siren, the storm. She does not fit into the boxes that culture carved for women. She is not made to be saved, she is made to remember. Her desire is primal, not polite. She doesn't smile to ease the discomfort she causes. She lets it linger, lets you squirm beneath the weight of your own denial. She holds space for transformation, and that space is rarely comfortable. It is sacred, it is sharp. She will not praise your potential. She will question it. She will stand silent while you explain your greatness, and with a single look, expose your fear. She is the test not of your strength, but of your depth. And few pass, not because they are weak, but because they have built their lives upon avoiding the very work she demands. She is not looking to be understood. She is looking to be met. Not with performance, not with promises, but with presence. Real, trembling, messy, vulnerable presence. She has no patience for the half alive. Her body is a temple for the fully awakened. You don't impress her by knowing things. You move her by feeling them. She doesn't care for credentials. She watches your eyes when you speak of pain. She listens to how your voice cracks when you mention your father. She measures your maturity not by how much you've achieved, but by how much you've grieved. And yes, she will trigger you. Deeply. Because that's her gift, to awaken the very parts of you that you buried to survive. The parts that never got to feel, to speak, to break. With her, they don't just come alive, they roar. And that roar, if you're brave, becomes the sound of your liberation. She loves differently. Her love is not wrapped in expectations or entitlements. Her love does not perform, it penetrates. She doesn't need to be needed. She needs to be respected, reverenced, received. Without resistance, without projection, without trying to fix or tame her. Because she is not broken. She is becoming. And if you're lucky enough to love her, truly love her, you will lose the life you thought you wanted. The life of comfort, of ego, of chasing shallow safety in shallow connections. She will destroy your taste for the superficial. Your appetite for performative affection will rot in her presence. But in its place, hunger for truth, for soul, for meaning, for depth that bleeds and heals and doesn't apologize for either. Most men will not stay. Not because she asks too much, but because they've never asked that much of themselves. And the woman who knows her worth? She doesn't beg them to rise. She lets them choose. And if they don't, she walks. Not with anger, but with alignment. Because she's no longer afraid of being alone. She is not lonely in her solitude. She is whole in it. She has faced her shadow and kissed it. Has danced with grief and come out glowing. Has buried versions of herself that once begged for crumbs, and now she dines with the divine. She is the dark feminine. Not a phase, not a trend, a force. And she will never again pretend to be less than that. She lives outside the binary. She is neither sinner nor saint. She is the sacred contradiction. The woman who can mourn and lead, break and still bless, burn and still bloom. She wears her anger like a veil, not to obscure her beauty, but to guard it. She does not explode. She radiates warning. A woman who has been dismissed too many times learns how to vibrate with power in silence. And the world hears it, even if it doesn't understand it. She no longer tries to be soft in the way they want. Because her softness is not submission, it's surrender. Not to a man, not to approval, but to herself. She trusts the wild inside her. The moon-pulled tides of her intuition. The hunger that says go, the ache that says stay, the stillness that says wait. And when she walks away, it's not an exit. It's an initiation. Because to love a dark woman is to enter a portal. one that strips away who you think you are, and leaves you raw with remembrance. She's not here to make you comfortable. She's here to make you real. And that's the difference. You can impress 100 women with your charm. You can hold their attention with sweet words and predictable gestures. But her, you either rise into your soul, or disappear from hers. Because her love doesn't cling. It summons. And you, the man watching this, feeling a discomfort you can't name, maybe it's because you've known her. Maybe you touched her shadow and mistook it for danger when it was actually your own reflection. Maybe you ghosted her because she made you feel things you hadn't earned the language for yet. Maybe now, she haunts your memory, not as a regret, but as a threshold. The one you didn't cross. And you, the woman listening, nodding in silence, you know this ache. You've swallowed it, silenced it, dimmed it to be nice. You've felt your power twist into apology, your depth mistaken for drama, your clarity dismissed as cold. But not anymore. You are not too much. You are too deep for shallow men. You are not broken. You are burning away what no longer fits. You are not lost. You are unlearning obedience, remembering you're wild. The world doesn't teach us how to hold dark women. It teaches us to fear them, to mock them, to sexualize them, to silence them, because the systems that shape us rely on women staying small. But she, the woman who owns her rage, her grief, her passion, her hunger, cannot be tamed. She cannot be sold. She cannot be owned. She becomes legend. Because once she knows who she is, once she has buried the version of herself who needed to be liked, she becomes magnetic. Not for the masses, but for the ones who have done the work. The ones who no longer fear the mirror. The ones who are ready to be seen. She doesn't love like the others. She won't say what you want to hear. She won't play small so you feel big. She will sit in front of you like a storm in a glass. Still, beautiful, dangerous, and say nothing. And in that silence, everything inside you will answer, "Am I ready?" If you are not ready, you will run. You will call her complicated. Call her cold. You will create stories to justify your retreat, say she asked for too much, say she was hard to love. But deep down, you will know, she only ever asked for what was real. And when you wake up in the arms of someone easier, someone softer in the ways that don't scare you, you'll feel it. That ache, that silence, that space she used to occupy, not in your bed, but in your mind. Because the shadow feminine doesn't fade. She stains. She does not linger to be remembered. But she is. Every time you tell a story and feel your voice falter. Every time you catch yourself performing and wonder who you are beneath it. Every time you look in the mirror and see the man she saw, not the one you pretend to be. And you, woman who walks with this fire, your power is not in being chosen. Your power is in choosing. You don't need to convince anyone of your worth. You don't need to beg someone to hold what they cannot handle. You are not here to dim. Not anymore. Because you've touched your own shadow now. You've sat with your own demons. You've walked through the valley and found yourself still breathing. Still burning. You are no longer a woman who waits for permission. You are the permission. You are the storm and the sky. You are the flame and the fuel. And the world will try to name you. They will call you intense, difficult, unpredictable, but let them. They are naming what they do not yet understand. Because a woman who has met her shadow is no longer performing for peace. She is peace, and peace is not always soft. Sometimes, peace is the war you win within yourself. You are not too dark. You are finally whole. Let him stare. Let him fear. Let him feel something they can't explain. That is the price of truth. That is the scent of the sacred. That is what happens when the shadow becomes a crown. And the man who is worthy, he will not flinch. He will not try to fix or frame you. He will sit beside the fire and let it change him. He will come not to possess you, but to praise the path that made you. He will not ask for the light without the dark. He will know, you are both. And that is the miracle. You were not born to be small. You were not born to be polite. You were born to be truth in motion. To crack the surface of this sleeping world and awaken what's sacred in it. So do not shrink. Do not silence. Do not soften your edge for those who fear the blade. Because the woman who knows her worth doesn't chase, she chooses.